1. And we're live. We're going. Okay, welcome to F101 2026, episode 12. It is the Monaco review and the Barcelona preview. It is our first double episode in a long time since week 3 was our last double episode. So it's been a minute. We have a jam-packed episode, and because Monaco decided to actually be exciting and messy, we're going to stretch my self-imposed hour time limit. So I am here, as always. I'm Max. I'm joined right now by Hannah.
Hi.
Nat and Sam are both on their way. Nat has just joined. Wow, perfect timing. Hey,
Hi.
Nat is
Hi.
here. And then Sam is on his way. And then Dave is in Japan on his
Whoa.
honeymoon, and Nate, I believe, is at work, and
Yeah.
Andrew is in Germany. So,
Wait, he is?
What's up?
That's
hello, Sam
crazy.
is here. Who are you saying?
Hey.
Who are you? What do you?
Uh,
Who's he in your question, Nat?
Well, honestly, it was both honestly now to Dave and Andrew. That's awesome.
Yes, Andrew is in his last full day in Germany. He comes back tomorrow, 7:30-ish our time. I don't know how long Dave's in Japan for. I told Dave that any podium he misses, I'm just gonna spin a wheel and pick randomly, and he was okay with that. So,
Yeah.
so this is the crew for tonight. And good timing, everybody. We're already going, so let's just get right into it. First order of business is the standings. So the constructor standings have not changed all that much. Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren are your top 3, followed by Red Bull, Alpine, Racing Bulls, and then Haas, Williams, Audi. Aston Martin, though, now has a point, one singular point. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then Cadillac at 0, still at the back there. I don't think, I don't believe anything actually uh yeah, so the order between the teams didn't change at all. However, in the driver's standings, we did have some changes. So Antonelli remains in first, 156 points. Below him is no longer George Russell. It is now Lewis Hamilton in second place with 90 points, followed by Russell in third with 88. The first non-Mercedes in the top 2 of the year. Then Leclerc is in fourth with 75, followed by Piastri with 60, Norris with 58, Verstappen with 43. Hadjar with a huge leap up. He's got 29 points. Then Lawson and Gasly are tied at 26. Behrman's got 18, Colapinto 15, Lindblad 13, Sainz 6, Albon 5, Ocon 3, Bortoleto 2, Alonso 1 point. Everyone else, Hulk, Bottas, Perez, and Stroll have 0. I forgot I messed up that, but anyway, Monaco review. I'm calling it Pandemonium and the Principality. That's my subtitle for Monaco. That's my descriptor. Just for Monaco, because qualifying was so important and because the race changed weirdly a lot. The qualifying order was Antonelli, Verstappen, Hamilton, top 3, Leclerc, Hadjar, Russell, Piastri, Norris, Gasly, Lawson, Albon, Sainz, Colapinto, Lindblad, Bortoleto, Ocon, Perez, Behrman, Bottas, Alonso, Stroll. That was your qualifying order. Now the finishing order is a lot different than that. Antonelli won. Hamilton came in second. Hadjar came in third. By then Piastri, Lawson, Lindblad, Gasly, Albon, Ocon, and Alonso snagging up that final point. Then Bortoleto, Russell, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, and Perez all finished outside of the points. Verstappen, Bottas, Behrman, Norris, Stroll, Leclerc, and Sainz did not finish the race. Although technically Sainz did finish the race because he completed over 90% of the race distance, but he did not cross the finish line. And then Gasly crossed the line in third, and Perez crossed the line in 10th, but due to penalties, which we'll talk about the many, many penalties, they both got demoted. My good day belongs to Kimi Antonelli, Lewis Hamilton, Monaco haters at the start of the race, and Isaac Hadjar at the end of the race. And then my bad day goes to George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, Isaac Hadjar at the start of the race, and Monaco haters at the end of the race. So it was a lot of ups and downs on Sunday. And it all happened in like the final 20 laps. It was pretty much Monaco standard in the first cup, in like the first like 70% of the race or so. I don't remember exactly what lap it all kicked off with Stroll hitting the wall, which of course the one time I don't like write down what lap number something happens is like the most critical lap. Um, but before we get into what happened, let's go through the DNFs really quickly. So Verstappen qualified in second. He got up the line, had no power, didn't even do a full racing lap. Then he went home. Literally just went home. Because he was in Monaco. So he did his post race interview and he dipped. Norris had yet another engine slash battery slash power failure, which was his second of the weekend because he had one in the second practice session, and his 700th failure of the year, or at least it feels like it's his 700th failure of the year. Bottas had to retire the car early because they couldn't cool it down, which was a problem for the team all weekend, Cadillac specifically, because they weren't going fast enough to get enough air in the car to cool the car. Very Monaco specific problem for the team. Behrman had contact at the start and then later retired. Stroll and Leclerc hit the wall at the exact same spot. I just want to say, Stroll did it first. All right. Every masterpiece has its cheap copy. So Stroll the masterpiece, Leclerc the cheating classmate. Um, and then Sainz got hit twice on the red flag restart and retired, but again, he technically finished because he did over 90% of the race distance. A lot of DNFs in Monaco. And not only two of them were from drivers hitting the wall. Um, so we got to start with Antonelli, though. He dominated the weekend. He got a grand slam, which is pole position, fastest lap to win, and leading every lap of the race. He became the youngest ever to get a grand slam, and the youngest to ever win in Monaco, and the youngest ever to get 5 wins in a row, and the first person ever whose first 5 wins were all consecutive. And he's joining very elite company with the 5 wins in a row. Hamilton, the only ever driver to get 2 separate streaks of 5. Verstappen, Schumacher, I think got 5. Verstappen's ultimate record, he had a 10 race win streak. There was a huge graphic about it. I don't remember all the numbers off my head, but he's in very good company. And to do that in Monaco is special. I was saying this on Sunday, but last week I said Antonelli winning in Monaco would be a bigger blow to Russell than Canada. I think I was right about that, but I did not expect it to go down the way it did. Russell was off the pace all weekend again, and then he became for the many drivers to get a speeding in the pit lane penalty. And then during the safety car caused by Stroll, Mercedes double stacked, and in that confusion, they did not serve Russell's penalty, which was a standing 5-second penalty. This gave him a drive-through and shot him out of the points since the field was so bunched up after the red flag from Leclerc, which was literally a lap later. It was an amazing weekend for Antonelli and a complete disaster from Russell. He didn't score a single point, which is brutal. The year is far from over, but Antonelli has a 66-point lead over Hamilton and a 68-point lead over Russell. So it's going to be difficult for Russell to overcome, especially if Antonelli keeps his form up. Although I said this before, last year's European races were not kind to Antonelli. So it can always flip. But even then, Russell won't be able to get a lead until 3 races from now. That's the next time Russell can take the lead of the championship. And that would require Russell to win every single race, basically, and for Gimme not to score at all. So it's gonna be tough, and it'll probably be a while before Russell gets the lead back, if he gets the lead back. So Sam, thoughts on your boy?
Couldn't be prouder. He's doing so well.
Yeah, he did great. He was on fire all weekend. So
Gives me a reason to trust him.
it does. I have a sinking. I got a suspicion about this week's pick the podium from everybody, but we'll get into that later. So the penalties. speeding in the pit lane was an issue here. So the way speeding in the pit lane, or the way the pit lane speed is kind of measured, is cameras record your time from pit lane entry to pit lane exit. I think there's a few cameras within there, but if you're faster than a certain time, then it records you as speeding. Now in Monaco, you can cut the corners on entry and exit, and it's a very short pit lane. So that cuts down how long you're actually in the pits. And a bunch of people did that and got penalties for it, even if they didn't technically break the speed limit, um, which they really can't do because there's a speed limiter on the car that they all hit. But because it's weirdly measured by time and distance, they got those speeding penalties. And it's only a Monaco problem. There's a few tracks where you can kind of cut the corner on entry, some on exit, but rarely both. And the ones where you can do it on both, it's long enough where it doesn't matter. Monaco's pit lane is so short that it when you cut that corner, it takes out a significant, well, enough time to be speeding in the pit lane. And I think they kind of need to change it to maybe monitoring the actual speed of the cars. Like, I don't get why they don't have like a cop with a speed gun that you see on the side of a highway, just stanced up, pointing at all the cars. Like, I don't get why we just can't do that. And it would prevent all this stupid drama. But Russell, Gasly, Hamilton, Colapinto, Piastri, and Gasly again all got speeding in the pit lane penalties. And I believe Hadjar was under investigation for it at a point. I think there were a few others that were maybe under investigation for speeding in the pit lane, but it turned out that they weren't. Perez's penalties were not related to speeding at all. It's because he kept starting in the wrong spot. He lined up in Bortoletto's spot after Bortoletto started in the pit lane on the start of the race, and then he was on the red flag restart out of position again. So bad starting for the veteran who should know better and should be able to do better. And then Hulkenberg got a penalty for his collision with Sainz after the red flag restart, and Stroll got a penalty for track limits in Monaco, which is very, very impressive, honestly. Hadjar and Hamilton were both under investigation for safety car infringements, but both were cleared. And then Hadjar was under investigation for red flag infringement, but was also cleared. I looked up this. So the team went to change the spark plugs during the red flag, but they didn't change anything, so it was all okay. Very busy afternoon for the stewards. And the reason there was a red flag was because on the safety car restart, Charles Leclerc's brakes failed and he hit the wall. And as they were recovering his car, they noticed that the track was literally falling apart. And so his crash caused a red flag while Stroll's didn't, even though they crashed in the same spot. Because they had to repair the road. They literally had to patch the road right then and there. And there were so many jokes being made about how this is one of the richest countries in the world. They have all this money, but their roads are the same as everyone else's. So roads everywhere suck. But that was the cause of the red flag. And then on the restart, like Russell backed up the entire pack, which was weird, and that kind of caused Hulkenberg to crash in the signs. I don't really get why he did that. But the biggest story, I think, of the weekend, aside from Kimi, was easily Ferrari. You can't trust Ferrari. Even if Ferrari didn't do anything wrong this time, you still can't really trust them. The biggest potential blunder was they double stacked under the safety car, and Leclerc had to wait for Hamilton to serve his penalty, which kind of negated the penalty for Hamilton and secured him finishing in second place. But and in hindsight of the red flag or whatever, but I guess because Leclerc caused it, it didn't really matter. If Leclerc kept it on the road, he probably would have finished in a very angry third, as he was in disbelief with the team at the call. It was baffling at the time. I still don't necessarily get it now, but he never got there because, like I said, his brakes failed on the safety car restart, and the track was falling apart, and we got a red flag to just keep the spice going, keep the mess going for the Monaco Grand Prix. I was texting Nate about it. I said, he was like, I'm really hoping for a Leclerc magic. This was before he crashed. And I said, with Lando struggling, Max out. This was before Lando DNF as well. Behrman out, Lewis with a penalty. Are you sure you want to cheer for Leclerc? Because all the drivers we were rooting for were doing horribly. And then he was very angry about that text after Leclerc crashed.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man.
Yeah,
So,
very, very messy.
oh yeah, all the drama from Monaco, really. And I spent all show last week being like, it's gonna be boring, nothing's gonna happen.
I did think it was really funny how mad Charles was in the Ferrari garage when he DNF'd. You could tell
Yeah.
he was mad. He was like yelling a
Yeah,
little
he was
bit.
cursing at them.
It's very animated.
Yeah. At least, honestly, like at least he didn't throw stuff onto the track like George did in Canada. Like at least like
That's
he went to the
true.
garage and then threw his helmet down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Well,
still has some Monaco class.
he crashed, and George had a failure. So there was two different types of anger.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So, but yeah, and then George's drive-through, as we saw, kept him out of the points, which is crazy. So, not a good weekend for either of them. Honestly, not a great weekend for most of the rookies in that class from that class.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, uh,
But the rookies from this last year's class.
yeah, it was great for the rookies
Oh
from
yeah.
last year's class.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hadjar, because of Gasly's penalties, got promoted to third, and he was under investigation, but he took the podium, celebrated, and got to keep his podium. Unfortunately for Gasly, he lost his Monaco podium, and that hurt. His post-race interview was so hard to watch. He looked so
Mm.
sad. They asked him like how are you feeling, and he stared off to the side for a long time before answering. Like he was like, I don't know if he was just trying to like not cry or trying to like figure out how to like diplomatically say it, but it was rough. He looked really, really upset. The team like requested a right of review for it, but I don't know if that's gonna amount in anything. Um, and I think he might have been more upset than any other driver, including like Leclerc and Russell and Norris. So he was. I really feel for Gasly. I love Gasly. I've been a Gasly fan since he started in the sport, and he's the reason I started rooting for what was then AlphaTauri and Toro Rosso before over Red Bull. So really, really feel for Gasly. That was brutal, brutal race for him at the end there. But yes, Hadjar on the podium, which means that Sam's bold prediction has come true. The Monaco podium featured two of last year's rookies. So congratulations, Sam. You are another bold prediction, uh, winner, I guess. I think Nat did it first though, if I'm remembering correctly. Because Nat, you said that Antonelli will win his first race, and that happened. So
Yes.
very
Yes.
quickly into the season. So um, and then just a few more things to wrap up. Midfield, Lindblad became one of the very few successful wait for a safety car or red flag strategies to actually work. It kept them ahead of Williams and up in sixth place, one below Lawson, who had a great weekend. Lawson underrated this weekend, not talked about enough. He was on fire all weekend. And Dave isn't here, but finally it happened. Aston Martin has scored a point because Perez had a penalty that promoted Alonso to 10th. Did Alonso deserve it? Maybe, but that's racing, baby. Fernando El Plan Alonso has scored a point in the biggest shitbox on the grid. They still have a lot to sort out, so don't get too excited. Nate's all caps text to our group chat about it was met with literally no response,
Oh my
unfortunately.
god.
But we
What did
talked
he
about it.
say?
What did he say? It's Aston takes the point, Honda on the board, LFG. And
Oh
then we
my
talked
god.
about it over Xbox, but that text got zero response, which is really funny.
Wow.
That's
Um,
crazy.
it'd be so funny if this is their only point
Oh
of this
my
season.
god.
Um, so that's a very wild Monaco. Um, but we do have a certified Ferrari moment. This week it goes back to Ferrari, but not for getting everyone's hopes up and failing to deliver. That's expected from the team. This time it's for making Leclerc wait for Hamilton to service penalty while they double stack. That was wild. I don't understand that
Oh,
call at all. They were trying to justify it on the broadcast because of like he would have worse tires, but you can't overtake anyway, so it doesn't matter. um, so I don't know why they did that. And then the honorable mention for certified Ferrari moment goes to Sam, Andrew, and Dave, who, through no fault of their own, just scheduling, missed out on an entertaining Monaco. Skipping school the one day a fight happens. Sorry, guys. So Sam was at a wedding, and then Andrew and Dave were out of the country. So unfortunately, they all missed it. And what a race to miss! And that's Monaco. Any final thoughts on Monaco before we move on over to Barcelona?
hmm.
Hmm.
And I just want to say that it took me like 8 hours to watch the whole race due to weekend plans. But because I got through lap 40 in the morning, a little bit behind. And then Nate was like, you really gotta he's like, just be prepared. Stuff's about to go down. And then I couldn't watch it, so I had to wait like 8 more hours to finish it. It was
Oh
well worth
no!
it. Well worth the wait.
You could have honestly watched the first 50 laps at 2x speed.
I could have. I should have.
It's like
I did.
the only thing that happened was like Max not like starting really, and then Lando going out with an issue, and that was pretty much it.
I did zoom through the whole red flag though, because I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not watching this.
Yeah, I watch the like live. Obviously, I'll watch it, but usually, if like for whatever reason, if I miss a race and there's a red flag, I'll unless it's like the cause for the red flag is something weird, and I want to like see what
Yeah.
it is. Um, and I haven't like seen any like spoilers about it, but usually I'll just skip through it. There was one race in it was 2020, and it was in Tuscany, and they were racing on a motorcycle track, like a Moto GP track, and there were like four red flags that race. And this one dude
Mm,
online, he was like, "Yeah, I watched the replay. I feel like I skipped more of the race than I actually watched it because I kept skipping through the red flags."
yeah.
Um, so I totally understand skipping through the red flags on a replay. But hey, you got to watch it, and that's what matters.
Yes.
So, and then you were watching. You texted me that you were gonna be watching qualifying while doing. You were at a wedding, and you were going to be doing your
Yes.
bride's hair for the wedding ceremony while watching qualifying. And I was like, that is a very high stakes like hour of your time happening
That'd be
between
Yes.
Monaco
wild.
qualifying and that. Like, there's a lot at stake there.
Yes, my sister and I were doing our then future-in-law or future sister-in-law's hair for her wedding day. Luckily, Nate and I were running a little bit late, so we got to start the race in the car. So I was like listening while he was watching on his phone.
Mm.
And then I did her hair, and then I made Nate like go back so I could finish watching like Q3. So it did work out a little bit better.
Yeah, there you go. And you got to see some crazy. Honestly, that's good because Q3. I mean, there were some crazy laps. Max's second place lap, obviously Kimmy's
Yeah. Oh, it was
lap.
yes.
Um,
But oh well.
Unfortunately for you, McLaren's laps weren't very good, but
Nope.
we're back to normal in Barcelona,
Are we? All right,
so maybe
you're
it'll
gonna
be
say
better.
that.
Back to normal? Question mark. That's what I have
Yeah,
written
question
here.
mark. Yeah.
The weekend schedule is the exact same as last week. So practice one's Friday at 7:30. Practice two is Friday at 11. These are all AM. Practice three is Saturday at 6:30. Qualifying Saturday at 10, and the race is Sunday at 9. I ended up watching practice three live last weekend because our fire alarm went off, and then it was on for an hour. It went off at 4:30 in the morning, or like
Oh my
4
gosh.
a.m., and then I didn't get back into the apartment until 5:30 a.m. because it malfunctioned, by the way. That was the issue. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to bed. I'll just stay up for an hour and then watch practice while I
Wow.
placate the cat with treats because I had to like rush him and snatch him out of the house or out of the apartment.
Okay, well,
Anyway,
you took some positives out of that.
yeah. So yeah, I learned that in a crisis, the first thing I go for is the cat.
That's good.
Yeah.
Importantly to mention, Hannah was not here. It was
Yeah, I was
just
I
not
was gonna say
home.
that was like my second thing. I'm like, well, maybe Hannah, but maybe she
no.
wasn't
Hannah
there.
was not. Hannah was not
No,
there.
I was hitting the clubs. I was out partying.
Ooh,
Yeah.
So
fun.
And I woke up I went to bed at, like, almost 4, and then I woke up, and then got the text, and I was like, "Oh," but it was fine.
eventful night. Anyway, all that to say, I'm probably not watching Practice 3 live this week.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not a repeat of events.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll watch it while eating breakfast. So yeah, but anyway, yes, weekend schedule for the race is the same. Some quick track stats. We're back. It's an actual racetrack, and there are some pretty gnarly, long, sweeping corners on this one. I recommend taking a look at the map of the track. And you can overtake here. There used to be a chicane right at the end of the final turn. They got rid of it a few years ago. The track is a lot faster. There's better overtakes. Each lap is like 4.6 kilometers long, 66 laps, 307 kilometers. He actually acted as the fastest lap here with a 1:15, and he won last year's race. But
Ooh.
he was not the story of last year's race. The story of last year's
Hmm.
race was when Verstappen had a meltdown and swerved into George Russell on purpose. And God, Big G, I know we don't talk that often, but please let George and Max start next to each other this weekend. That's all I want. Just have them qualify next to each other, please, just for the drama. So yes, that was Barcelona is a fun track. It's where they do all of the preseason testing, not the stuff that's filmed, the private tests. So they're all very. Not only are they familiar on this track, but they're familiar in these cars, or at least the first iteration of these cars on this track. So everyone should have a good level of comfortability. And this should be back to normal. Should be Mercedes, be the fastest, followed by McLaren, and then Ferrari and Red Bull. Maybe Red Bull over Ferrari. I don't think Ferrari is like gonna be second place because their engine isn't as good. They're down on power. They're not having that advantage of Monaco being slow. Barcelona's very fast. And they might be fine on the corners, but that main straight is gonna be tough for them, I think. And Red Bull as well, who aren't down on power, but their car is overweight, so it's tough. Maybe predicting who's going to be in third, but I do think Mercedes is easily going to be the fastest car. But should is the operating word because anything can happen, as we saw last week in Monaco, and there's no break between here and Monaco, so emotions are going to be high after the chaos. Antonelli he's got to be the favorite here as we return to a normal racetrack. Don't count out Russell, though. Russell needs to win, and he needs to win a lot. And if we really want to start that winning here, I expect him maybe to drive a little more aggressively during qualifying and especially in the race. He was on fire in Canada, and he needs to get back to that pace. And he's shown that if he's in front, he can defend really well. Antonelli could not get by Russell in Canada. Maybe he would have eventually, but for most of the race, he couldn't have done it, or he couldn't do it. But if he wants to be in front, he's got to get there first, and Antonelli is not going to go easy on him. He's got all the momentum right now coming into this race, and while the streak has to end at some point, doesn't have to at some point, he can very much keep winning, and I believe that he will keep winning. I would not be surprised with a Mercedes 1-2 and 30 seconds ahead of everyone else like it was earlier in the year. But, a late safety car like last year in Barcelona or last week in Monaco or a surge from McLaren, Ferrari, or Red Bull, those are all possible things. No bets are truly safe, but, you know, I I have a feeling. I was looking up some stats for Pick the Podium this today because I was like, when was the last time everyone chose the same person to win the race? Because I have a suspicion that everyone except for Dave is going to choose the same person to win the race. And the last time everyone chose the same person to win the race was Monza 2024, when there was only 4 of us, me, Sam, Nate, and Andrew, and we all chose Lando to win. And then it has only happened 4 other times. All 4 of those times were also in 2024, and they were all Max Verstappen. So, with the introduction of Dave, it's very hard for everyone to pick the same winner. But I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Antonelli.
What? That's crazy.
Everyone but Sam.
Who
Everyone but
on
Sam.
earth would pick him?
Now I don't want to pick him. Now I want to change because I'm like, well, if everybody does it, then he's not gonna win, and I'm
Well,
just
to be
second guessing
fair, I
myself.
don't know what Hannah's going to pick. I mean, I know Sam's going to pick Antonelli, and I don't know what Nate is going to pick because he has yet to text me. But this was my hunch
That's a good
before
question.
even knowing.
It's a good.
what-
It's a good hunch though.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
really a bunch.
Hmm?
That's reasonable.
So yeah. So I think it's going to be good. I'm up on Mercedes, especially this week. Like I said, Monaco disguised Ferrari's lack of speed really well. I think their struggles are gonna come back here in Barcelona. They're down on power. Like I said, that main straight is really going to expose that weakness of theirs. And turn 1 is a very popular overtaking spot. And in the past, it's been the only overtaking spot on the track. So if that's the case again, the yo-yoing might not as happen because you can't retake into turn 2 as easily. Again, with Ferrari down on the power, they could suffer. But then again, I don't know. It might be the case. Because Hamilton is feeling great in the car, and he thinks, and he said that his his first win in Ferrari, he said, is not far away. Now is that just from him riding high after Monaco? Is that has he unlocked something? I mean, he definitely seems like he's seen a lot. Like he's been racing a lot better. He was great in Canada as well. So I wouldn't count out Hamilton at all. When he is feeling himself in the car, he podiums and he wins. Like that's just who he is as a driver. So I lost my place. Yeah, so he's got momentum and we know what happens when he feels good in the car. But unfortunately, on the other side of the garage, Leclerc is in hell. I do think Leclerc can get back to form here in Barcelona. I think he can recover from Monaco. It's just a question of like what that's going to look like with the car being down on so much power. That's Ferrari. We'll see what happens with them. It's hard to predict Ferrari because I feel like I'm like, oh, they're going to be bad, and then they're good.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
they
oh, they're
always
going to be
find
good.
ways to fuck it up. Excuse me,
Yeah.
frick it up.
It's okay. This is not necessarily a family-friendly show. But that is true.
I didn't want
When
you to get
Leclerc crashed,
community guidelines. I just want to stay within that. Sorry.
no, we only got community guidelines when we talk about Epstein.
Wow.
It's the only time we got it took my video on YouTube a while to update was when we talked about Epstein. Um, and right when the war was starting, but then we mentioned it at like a week later, and YouTube didn't care. So, who knows? But when Leclerc crashed, I did text Nate in all caps. He can't trust this damn team. So that's like my until Ferrari can until they win both championships in the same year, I don't trust them. So, and I don't think that's happening this year. So
No.
below Ferrari, I've got McLaren, and if they can get a hold on their reliability issues, they would be in second place in the Constructors' Championship. But they can't, and Norris is suffering most because of it. He's fast, as we all know. He's a champion, but he has not had a chance to show it off. Piastri has also been pretty up and down with both performance and reliability. Could be a good weekend for the team, And at least it's a great opportunity for them to get back onto the podium, but their car needs to hold it together for them to do it. If it does, I would not be surprised to see McLaren on the podium. In fact, I've been struggling on picking my podium, being torn between McLaren and some other drivers. And we know that they can develop a car. So no matter what, I'm sure they'll keep making progress on Mercedes. But Lando has used all of his batteries for the year. You get a certain amount you can use in the year, and every other one after that is a 10 place great job or a 5. I think it's a 10.
Oof.
Oh,
So it's like writing's on the wall for Lando, unfortunately, especially if it keeps failing. Uh, and I saw like a lot of posts blaming Mercedes, like not like McLaren's big disadvantage because they're buying the engine from Mercedes and they don't know how it works as well. But Lando's DNS in China was a McLaren issue. One of his failures was also a McLaren issue. So it's not like, face the music is what I'm saying to certain McLaren fans, not that or
No,
not.
it's
And I want to be
no.
clear
I was
about
gonna
that
say,
as
I was
well.
like, it's definitely McLaren.
So McLaren has been apparently toying around with the idea of developing their own engine. Now that won't happen until after this reg set is done. But Nate was like, maybe we'll see like a Honda, the like resurgence with McLaren, and I wanted to be like, yeah, ask Fernando how that went.
Yeah,
So
we can dream.
McHonda was good at some points,
Condo.
but horrible at other times. But yeah, McLaren, if they can get a reliability on, if they can get a handle on reliability, then they're going to be, I think they're going to be a like a force in this year. But they got to get a handle on that first, and that's not been easy for them. And then I think Red Bull is in a similar situation to Ferrari, where Monaco kind of disguised some of the weaknesses of the car. But they, like McLaren, can also develop a car very well. They're getting faster. They were quicker than the McLarens in Monaco. Verstappen's been very good. I don't think they're fully back yet, as in like race winning, but they're getting there. However, Verstappen had a really bad time last year, and that's going to be on everyone's mind but his. He won't be thinking about it at all. I can see him back on the podium, especially since he was there in Canada. Now that Hadjar is really performing well, Red Bull is on their way to becoming a threat again. That being said, it's going to take some time, and I think the third podium spot, assuming a Mercedes 1-2, is a toss-up between the rest of the top teams. I think you get six drivers you can pick. I'm no longer saying 5. I think Hadjar is right up there as well. I think you got 6 drivers you can pick for that third place if you assume that Mercedes is going to get a 1-2. Now, every time we assume that Mercedes is going to get a 1-2. That doesn't happen, but you know, going into it, you know what I mean. So that's our top 4. If anyone has anything to say about these top 4 teams before we launch into the midfield here.
I was listening to my my F1 podcast earlier today, but I didn't know if you heard about this. They had mentioned Red Bull getting some upgrades for this weekend.
I didn't see
ooh.
anything about like upgrades to the car. I'm sure they did, and usually European races are easier to bring upgrades because everyone's factory is either somewhere in Europe or in the UK. Which is why you kind of see the first big upgrades happening in previous years in Barcelona. But I didn't hear about that this
Gotcha.
year, especially because everyone's upgrades came in Miami. But again, this
Okay.
is like a new reg set, so it's a little different. But and also we missed a bunch of races. We missed we missed 2 races because of the
Mm-hmm.
war. So this year's logistics, I think, are a little messed up. And the teams had more time to develop in that break, which is why Miami saw the upgrades. So I mean, I'm sure they are. I don't know what they are. I haven't heard anything. As a Red
Mm-hmm.
Bull fan, I hope that it's about the chassis and getting the weight down. So because that's what they need to do.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that's what they're targeting with their upgrades. And there's no limit to how many upgrades you can bring. You can bring an upgrade every week. Obviously, you
Mm,
just have to stay within the cost cap. So that's why there aren't updates every week. Um,
okay. No, good to know. I didn't know that you could do it.
yeah,
I
there's
guess
no
I didn't
like
know how often that like you could.
whenever you develop them. You just can't. Obviously, with the cost cap, and it takes time to develop an upgrade. That's why you don't see upgrades every single
Mhm.
week. And again,
Okay.
there's the logistics issue of like it's easier to fly an upgrade to Spain or to, you know, Italy than it is to fly it to Miami or Australia or Japan. And that's, because all these teams again are kind of based out of the UK,
Makes
or
sense.
like somewhere in Europe, like Northern Europe. So uh, that's why you don't see them every week. I mean, there's a million reasons, but like in theory, there's no like there are parts you can't upgrade throughout the year, like your engine, unless you have additional development, which I'll touch on later. Like
Mm.
your engine, you can do parts of the brakes. There's like your power unit you can't touch. There's a few parts of the car you're not allowed to touch, at all.
Yeah.
So, but obviously, if they're bringing in an upgrade, it's not going to focus on those parts. So, um, but yes, I would not be surprised if Red Bull weren't the only team bringing in an upgrade. So, uh, moving on into the midfield, what could have been for Alpine and Monaco is only going to give Gasly even more motivation for the rest of the year, I think. He saw a podium and then he lost it. So he's going to want to fight to get back up there. And while the car probably won't be fast enough for it in most of the races, surely I think he's going to be in the points. Well, Pinto had a rough time in Monaco, and he's going to be thankful we're back to a normal racetrack. Very strong position at the top of the midfield, but points are scarce, and Racing Bulls, after a great Monaco, are only 2 points away. They both showed pace. They were excellent, if not risky strategy in Monaco. I feel like they're coming into their own now that they're close to Alpine. They have a golden opportunity to claim top of the midfield, which I would love. This is the midfield battle to watch. Racing Bulls versus Alpine right now. This is the midfield battle. While I give the edge to Alpine, I think they still are slightly better. Lawson, like I mentioned, has been great this year, and he was excellent in Monaco. And Lindblad has a lot of speed, even if his racecraft isn't as defined or refined, sorry, uh, compared to other drivers. But that's just because he's a rookie. The team thrives in chaos, obviously, and if last year's anything to go by, there could be some chaos our way in Barcelona, and that'll be great for them. Um, Andrew isn't here, so we can't mourn Haas. They had so much hope, uh, and they've been losing it
Mm.
slowly. Behrman had a really rough few races, and Ocon has just not been fast enough to make up for it. Um, it's kind of crazy that the team is relying on a second-year driver to score all of their points and to be competitive. Um, I'd love to see Haas back in the points and fighting for their place in the midfield, but Alpine and Racing Bulls are not making it easy. Behrman has the speed, but he's been on a cold streak. And again, Ocon just isn't fast enough. And the car isn't fast enough where not great, like Ocon is like the car isn't fast enough to make up for not great. It's a long year though, so hopefully they can fall back, but they have to start fighting now. And then Williams, Williams is confusing. Are they good now? Are they good and just crazy unlucky? Are their points primarily from luck? I don't know. It feels like whenever something does go right for the team, something else goes really, really wrong, especially with the Monaco chaos. I feel like it's going to be hard for them to catch up to Racing Bulls because they made such a leap. And they still got to pass Haas if they want to catch up to Racing Bulls and Alpine. And it's just tough this year because points are so scarce, especially now that the top four teams are kind of like basically gonna take the first 8 positions. So there's only two scoring places left, and that's 1 point and 2 points. So uh it's just tough. I think they're gonna be roughing it out for a bit longer. Williams has a lot going on off the track as well. And for whatever reason, I feel like every time they start to do something right, something else happens and it's all back to square one again for the team. So Hannah, I'm sorry, but I don't know if Williams is gonna be repeating their performance from last year.
Mm.
I'll accept it when it's the end of the season.
Fair enough. They also weren't doing great until the end of the season last year. That's when he got his podium. So you truly never know. But for now, they're going to be roughing it out, battling for what they can get. But hey, it's not as bad as Audi. Audi is even rougher spot than Williams. I feel like even when they have an opportunity to do something, they can't take it. Something always goes wrong. They're struggling a ton. I want to have faith in this team, but I just don't. I can't have faith in this team right now. I feel like even if they qualified 1-2 in a freak miracle, I still wouldn't have faith that they would even finish in the points. I think if they don't show any signs of life or improvement before the summer break, I'm gonna be really tempted to just kind of write Audi off for the year and be like, you know what, focus on next year. Uh, it's not your year this year. um, so that's Audi. Not much really to say about them. It's just, it's hard to watch sometimes. Um, Below them, Cadillac had a great chance for points in Monaco, and they lost out, which stings. But they're still a brand new team, and the fact that they were even up in 10th at all is something to celebrate. Yes, it sucks so much to lose that point because Perez couldn't start in the right spot all weekend, but it's a positive for the team, even if they lost out on probably the only point they're going to get this year. They'll be able to pull the car properly at least, so that's nice. But again, a return to more normality does mean Cadillac returns to the back of the grid. And then Aston. Yes, Aston is still in the coveted final spot for the worst team. Sue me. I don't have any faith in this team. I don't care that they scored. They got lucky and they left into a single point. And now that we're back at a real racetrack, their weaknesses will be right at the forefront. If you want to look for Aston at Barcelona, look in the back of the pack. Prove me wrong, Aston. I'm throwing down the challenge. Prove me wrong. And that is our teams for Barcelona. Any thoughts? Any early maybe pre-podium predictions? Anyone?
Oh, I have some predictions, but I'll wait till post podium.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of some
fair
style
enough.
points. Like a
Or that's what it
possible
is, my style points. Yes.
Yeah, we'll
my
get to style points later. Just if anyone had anything to say about our preview, I guess. If not, I'll move on to ADUO really quickly. That's additional development, upgrade opportunities. I kind of talked about it in Canada. So turns out the ADUO testing is on the internal combustion engine only. So none of the battery or the electronics, which are 50% of the whole power unit, are being tested. And the actual results haven't been published, but here's the rumor. Rumor is that Red Bull has the best ICE. They have the best internal combustion engine, which means Mercedes are worse than them. And if these rumored performance checks are to be believed, Mercedes would get one additional upgrade to their engine that they have to use. So any upgrade you get allowed through the ADUO system, you have to use it this year. You can't bank it for later. So Mercedes gets one additional upgrade. But the thing is, it's measured on the ice, but you can upgrade any part of your engine. So in theory, Mercedes and everyone below them could just focus all of their upgrades on the electronics, and then their ice, which is the measurement, will still be worse. So they just get infinite upgrades through this system. So Mercedes would get one, and then Ferrari, Audi, and Honda would get two. And this is based off of engine manufacturers, not the team. So Red Bull, Ford supplies Red Bull and Racing Bulls. Mercedes supplies Mercedes, McLaren, Alpine, and Williams. Ferrari supplies Ferrari and Haas and Cadillac, and then Audi supplies Audi, and Honda supplies Aston Martin. So that's why I'm not saying that's why McLaren isn't being brought up here, or Williams. So basically, Mercedes gets to I have this wrong here. Mercedes can upgrade any part. They can upgrade any part in theory. So the thing is, the teams agreed to this well before the year started, the ADO system. The manufacturers agreed to this. But now that, of course, that the season is in play and it's like, oh, Mercedes could get an engine upgrade even though they have the best engine package.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of being called into question. There's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of debate about it. you can call it a master gambit by Toto and Mercedes to be able to upgrade their engine while being the fastest team, or you can call it a farce. The point is the system was in place before anyone knew the pecking order. That being said, Red Bull is like challenging the results, which is why the final results haven't been posted, because Red Bull's like, no, Mercedes has the best engine. So we don't know any of the results yet. They haven't been published, as far as I'm aware, anywhere. And I've been looking all week. So that's very quickly ADUO, just because it's been kind of not in official like F1 published news, but it's been all over, at least the things that I'm looking at. So I feel like I had to say something about it. And then Honda, as far as I'm aware, I think they get even more extra time and funds because they suck so bad. I think they actually get even more development, like outside of the ADUO system, because that's how bad they are. So that's all I know about ADUO right now. I'll keep updating it as I find out more. But we got to pick the podium. Before we do that, though, I've got some stats here. Our first little stat is hope for the properly rated youth and also the old. Sam and Andrew believed in Antonelli, the youngster, and they were rewarded for it. They also had one of the oldest guys on the grid in second in Hamilton, and they got that one correct too. So good for the both of them. We went down together. Max and Nate agreed last week to go down together, go down with the ship, and put Antonelli in second and Norris in third, and we all see how that worked out. And then, ladies and gentlemen, he's back. Andrew has sniped third place from that with a 43-point gain this weekend. Don't call it a comeback. Do not call it a comeback. So that is our that's where we stand with pick the podium. The full standings. Sam commanding first place with 219 points. I am still in second with 161. Andrew has moved up to third with 143. 10 points below him is Nat with 133. 10 points below Nat is Hannah with 123. And then you've got Nate with 90 and Dave with 16.
The fact that Dave has
Yay.
points.
Yeah, he had two right. He had a so all of his points have come off of sprints. He had Leclerc second in the China sprint, giving him 7 points, and then he had Hamilton right person wrong place points that gave him up to 10, and then he had Leclerc in third on the sprints that gave him 6 points. So he scored. He's not doing as well as he was doing last year, but plenty of races left. So now it is time, everyone's favorite part, the part where you get to fight to win a prize that I choose randomly, which I haven't chosen yet. But we got to pick the podium, and that means it's because he's in first place. Sam, you're up, and I think I already know who you are going to have win the race. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill it in for you. You don't even have to tell me. It's pretty obvious that you are going to pick Valtteri Bottas to win the race. So who do you got in second?
And then I'm going to have Verstappen up in second.
Okay, so Antonelli in first, Verstappen second.
Yep. And then for third, this is where I was questioning. Originally, I was going to say Norris, which is very odd because I'm not a huge fan of even thinking McLaren's going to do well. But I'm going to just stick with my gut because every time I second guess, things go wrong. So I'm just going to say Lando's going to be in third.
All right. Antonelli, Verstappen, and Norris. I also have Antonelli winning. And then in second place, I have George Russell. I am predicting Mercedes 1-2 here. And then in third place, I was also really struggling, but I think I'm going to go with Verstappen. I was tempted to put Piastri. I was debating between the two, but Verstappen was who I had in mind first, and so I'm going with Verstappen. Andrew has Antonelli winning. So we've got 3 Antonelli already. And then you have Piastri in second and Hamilton in third. Nat, you are up.
I am gonna go with Antonelli in P1. I think I'm gonna pull for Lewis in P2, and then my third, my P3. I think George is still gonna have a meltdown, so I'm gonna put Max P3.
All right. A lot of Verstappen belief. Hannah?
He's just
Okay, I'm gonna put. I'm gonna be a little different, and I'm gonna put Russell in first because I think
Okay.
he needs this. And second, I'll put Antonelli. And for third, I'm gonna put Verstappen.
All right. So I think if if Russell does end up in first, that would put you in theory ahead of Andrew for third.
Yay!
Um, now
Please,
obviously that the
Russell.
rest of the podium can change that, but in theory that would put you up in third place. I've not heard from Nate, so we will get his thoughts later. But Dave, as I mentioned, is in Japan, and I told him that I was going to just spin a wheel and choose his podium. And weirdly enough, his podium has been people he has already placed in these positions for actual races. So in first, he has Lindblad. In second, he has Perez. And in third, he has
yeah.
Leclerc. So he has chosen all these drivers already this year to finish in first, second, and third, respectively, which is very fun.
Oh,
So that is our podiums. We will see, come Sunday how it looks. Hopefully, unlike Monaco, I should be able to know. You'll be able to know what the standings look like. Hopefully, like right after the race. With Monaco, we were waiting on Hadjar's penalty, and it took them a while to figure it out. And then I was like, I'm gonna still just wait till Monday, just in case there's like more weirdness. So hopefully with Barcelona, we should know after the race immediately what the
oh,
standings look like.
they still haven't decided on, like, they haven't given results on, like, Pierre's, like, Alpine's argument, right?
No,
Oh
they
yeah, that's
haven't,
true.
but I don't think anything's gonna happen because the cascading effect of like, okay, he wasn't speeding in the pit lane. So what about
Yeah,
Hamilton, who maybe wasn't speeding as well and
too much. Like,
also served his penalty, or
yeah.
George or anyone who sped in the pit lane? Like, what happens to them? The thing is,
Yeah.
with these like arguments, you have to submit them within like a reasonable time, is their like wording. And obviously the other teams haven't lodged a protest. And so the
Mhm.
reasonable time is probably well past now. So would they give Gasly the podium a week later? I don't know. I don't know what kind of evidence Alpine has. So we will,
Rumor
if they
says that
change
they
it.
have.
Hmm?
I would just like, I don't know what's true and like what's not true of, like, the F1 gossip on that.
Yeah. So I mean, their protest is under review still,
Yeah.
but if they were to give Gasly the place back, it changes a ton in like the actual standings. But for fifth the podium, it gives Dave 8 points, and that's it. That's the only difference.
I'm just fighting for Dave, guys. That's all.
Aw.
Someone's gotta. So yeah. So
Equal to mine from last week.
hmm?
Nat's prediction is what my prediction was last week.
Oh yeah, style
Hmm.
points. Um. Oh. Oh yeah, it is. That's interesting. Huh.
Wait, my
Antonelli.
my like my podium.
Yeah.
Yeah. Antonelli, Hamilton, Verstappen.
It's
I
just
didn't
because
even
it was
notice.
such a good podium pick, Sam. It was such a good podium pick. I had to try it out.
I mean, because we do it in the order that we do it, in theory, you could just mimic all of his picks, and
It's gonna be a lot of
guarantee
Antonelli.
that. Yeah. The only problem is you'll never catch up to him if you do that.
Correct. Yeah.
So yeah, and style points. I was gonna end the show.
Yeah. So I've been doing really great with my podium picks the last two races. 2/3 of my drivers have DNF'd, so that's my
Okay.
style points. That I want my points if two of my drivers DNF. And
Two
that's what
of
I'm going.
two of Nat's picks will DNF.
Yeah.
And everyone is seeing that as being like, please don't be anti-Networky. I don't know. I gotta come up with something style points wise. But does anyone else have any?
I think I'll say Cadillac will get 2 points
Ooh.
Ooh.
and beat out Aston. So that's my style point.
So they'll get 2 points and Aston will not score.
Yes, essentially.
All right. That is that is. I mean, that would require chaos. You know what? I think my style points are gonna be what I said earlier. Verstappen and Russell qualify next to each other.
Oof.
Uh, Prompting drama. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna
Yes.
prompt drama. I don't think it may not cause drama, but if they qualify next to each other, I guarantee you what everyone's gonna be talking about, on Saturday evening is what happened last year.
For sure.
Sam, what you got?
I'm gonna say, just because of my Russell hatred, or not hatred, but distaste, it's gonna be a repeat of Canada, in the sense that at some point during the race, he's gonna DNF and throw a fit. Something of his equipment is gonna hit the track.
Go DNF and throw a fit. All right, there we go. Russell is going to throw a steering wheel or something else at the ground. Actually, I think if he threw a steering wheel out of the car, that would be like a genuine penalty. Because you're supposed to put the steering wheel back in after you exit the car. There's like a
Oh,
regulation for that. So that would be like a huge misjudgment for him. So there you have. There's the style points. See if they come true or not. For mine, you'll have to tune in on Saturday, but for everyone else, you'll have to tune in on Sunday. You might as well tune in for both. Thank you guys for being here. I know I kind of sped through a lot of it, but that's because it's a long episode today. Next week, we will be back for just the Barcelona review. It is not going to be as long. We can take our time and, stop and smell the roses. So good night, everybody, and I will see everyone back here next week.
hey.